as we have an hour and a half of 5+1 action coming right up.
Oh, it's about to get underway, and yesterday, Alireza Firouzja played the King's Indian against Hikaru. The match has started. Let's hear that round of applause.
The match is over. Hope everyone liked the match, all right? Bye, everybody.
Well,
Robert, it was fun to commentate with you. You did a great job today.
Always a pleasure. But look at this. We get a double fianchetto from Hikaru. So sometimes he starts with his b3 move on the first turn, but he's going to use his bishop, stare into black's position, and Hans' dark square bishop will be a little bit more passive than Hikaru's bishop going out to b2 next.
And this is very reminiscent of what Magnus played against Hans yesterday. I don't remember if it was a single fianchetto or a double fianchetto. You probably know this better, but there was a fianchetto. Hans responded with a London system setup, but then he remembered, wait, I'm in Paris. I need to fianchetto my own bishop. Hikaru coming back to his old ways, playing positionally and relatively non-theoretical opening choice.
I think it's a good decision from Hikaru. Yesterday, he wasn't as sharp as he needs to be. So why not take this out of tactical waters back into strategic territory? In this position, we've seen 0 trades, not a single capture to this point. And will there be a capture on d5 down there, or will black take on c4? That's one of those questions, positions not always easy to answer.
And none of these decisions are necessarily going to single-handedly decide the outcome of the game, but they're going to take a lot of time off your clock, as we see a pretty bold decision here by Hans, engaging white in the center. You see Hikaru refraining from capturing on e4 because then the d-pawn slides over, really clamps down on white's center. We have a pair of minor pieces off the board, and is Hikaru now going to say, wait, that was a pretty good idea, I like that square.
Copycat chess is usually fun, doesn't always work out, but these squares in the center are where the knights want to hop to. And I have to say that what Hans did yesterday that was so good was he got a lead on the clock in some of those games. And that was when he was able to push Magnus. But so he's going to have to stay with Hikaru, who's one of the fastest players, if not the fastest player in chess history. We know he's won the Bullet Chess Championship so many times, including the SEC. So he's a monster in all time controls, but especially when the seconds are ticking down to the very end.
And Hans will have to avoid blunders in all phases of the game, but Hikaru historically so good at punishing blunders in time scrambles. Yesterday, that was lacking a little bit. You had some crazy finales. Obviously, the nerves, the butterflies in the player's stomach definitely plays a role. But Hans will have to clean up his play toward the later middle game and those final stages of the game. As we see the center opening up, we had a trade that opens up Hikaru's dark squared bishop. It's staring at the g7 pawn. But I think Hans has positioned his pieces pretty decently. The position looks pretty balanced here thus far, as Hans avoids the isolated queen pawn. And indeed, copycat chess is the order of the day.
Yeah, we see so much tension in the center right now. These bishops sitting next to each other for black. Will there be a sacrifice in the air? That's one of those things that you always have to look out for. Doesn't appear that it's available just yet. But that knight on e4, Donnie, I think that piece in particular is a little bit loose, as you're pointing out here. There could even be a bishop takes knight on e4, followed by queen to g4. So for Hans, he needs to be careful at this stage of the game, and that's why he's in for a bit of a think.
Yeah, I mean, queen g4, it isn't really a direct threat because the knight can drop back to f6, but you start getting a little bit uneasy when you face Hikaru. I mean, something like knight d7 could be in the air, deflecting the queen, then recapturing on e4 and really putting pressure on the bishop on d5. Wait a second, the eval bar hated that move, and bishop takes e4, Robert, followed by rook to d7 and queen to g4?
Yeah, these moves actually are free-flowing. So this for Hikaru should be quite a natural find. And you see him, look, there it is. There's the Hikaru staring at the ceiling.
And to the side right there at the what?
Oh, he knows something is up here. He doesn't believe in queen to b7. And you know, it looks nice, right? You're lining your queen and bishop up, but you have to look for these tactics. And Donnie, we have to admit, bishop takes knight, giving up your fianchetto bishop. It's not a typical plan. We usually don't advise it, but here it works tactically.
I've seen entire chapters of old Soviet chess books written on these unconventional moves, invisible chess moves that you don't look at because they're so unnatural. Why would you weaken your light squares like that? Well, tactics always supersede general principles, positional considerations, and Hikaru, you know he smells a rat because he doesn't just take a minute and a half for no reason. He's, I think, trying to find a follow-up. Once rook d7, queen c8 happens, I'm not necessarily convinced queen g4 is the most accurate move. Maybe there's like a sack on f7, but let's wait for him to decide on bishop takes e4. Robert, maybe knight d7 is also catching his eye?
No, bishop takes e4, rook d7. He goes b4 first.
Ooh.
So there's clearly tactics in the air. The position's still good for white. So there are these lines that are happening with queen g4, whether Hans likes it or not. This is just a temporary sacrifice to maybe distract that bishop, put on a loose square.
And I feel like a kid in a candy store or a soda store. I was like, do I get the root beer? Do I get the Sprite? I mean, There's so many pieces hanging. He's trying to force this bishop onto an undefended square. Then he might play bishop takes e4. And then there's an amateur chess player who wants to replace me in the commentator's booth. This is unacceptable. Magnus Carlsen, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. Okay, well, we just started the match, and we already have our first surprise. First, on the board and now off. We're going to be joined by Magnus here. We see the crowd. Come on, another louder round of applause for Magnus. This is your reigning Speed Chess champion, your 2024 Speed Chess championship finalist. He will be playing against Alireza Firouzja tomorrow, but now he has the displeasure of joining me here in the booth. So as we, very live TV, as Danny likes to say, we're going to replace Danya for a sec. Here we go. Magnus, welcome, welcome. Sorry, we'll hook you up here. All live, all fresh. So, yeah, that way. Can you hear me well?
Yes,
Oh,
I can hear you.
Hey, Magnus, welcome, welcome. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling really good. Obviously, we got a tremendously exciting match on our hands.